This is the Thayer Podcast for Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Earlier this year, I drove to Las Vegas to visit a friend of mine. We had a pretty good time together. I got to help with around-the-house sort of handyman stuff. You know, tightening screws, lubricating noisy machinery, hanging pictures and mirrors. Yeah, guy stuff. Came time to go home, she offered me her sewing machine. It was an old Singer that had been languishing in the garage for several years. She had no room for it in the house and said I could take it with me if I could get it in my car. I took her up on her offer, but not before learning a little more about its history. Turns out she grew up with it and made dresses on it when she was a young girl. It was one of those memorable pieces of furniture you run across every now and then. It looked like a table with some drawers in it and a sewing machine sticking out the top. This cabinet, as they came to call it over 100 years ago, was attached to decorative cast iron legs that suspended a treadle meant to turn the flywheel of the sewing machine mounted on top. Serial number located on the base plate of the sewing machine was evidence that it was manufactured in 1920. It looked to me like it had been reasonably well cared for over the years and perhaps could use a home other than a garage located in some gated community. Certainly didn't need to stay in Vegas like all those famous happenings they talk so much about. I accepted my lady friend's offer. To prepare it for transport, I set about disassembling that Singer sewing machine and its classic 5-drawer cabinet table. In the process, I discovered a gem, a jewel from many busy days gone by. It was not vintage. Even though its age was well documented, it wasn't as pristine as most folks have come to think of as vintage. And it was not an antique. Sure, it was old, and its born date was without question. But it didn't look like an antique, something collectors shelter and protect as a valued treasure from history. No, this was a beautiful, well-maintained piece of furniture housing an equally well-maintained working home appliance that to this day still functions like it was brand new. This was an invaluable piece of homemaking furniture kept in living rooms and sitting rooms occupied by wives, mothers, daughters, and granddaughters, not just across America, but around the world. This sewing machine had been oiled and cleaned according to its instructions from day one. The wear marks where loving fingers held the machine as it was raised and lowered into position were obvious, and the cabinet's wood had been oiled routinely as part of a normal housekeeping chore. Today, the natural wear and tear of the ages stand out on this creation as proud scars of battles fought and won over tens of decades of service. Yes, I had my hands on something my lady friend had come to appreciate as a member of her family. An old friend needed a home where its future could continue indefinitely with a pair of caring, traditional, and loving hands holding it close. Now, all we need is to find that person. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Semper Fi.